Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and get started here. Wanted to start with the affirmation that we always have, starting our meetings off to kind of get us in the right mindset to do the work. So I want to thank everyone for their time, effort, and participation in our work before us today. I want to recognize that it's very difficult and important work, and I appreciate and value the perspectives and professionalism that everyone brings here today. So thank you. So go ahead and getting started. I know we usually call roll, I guess, or
sure.
Do we know who's here and who isn't?
I would be happy to. I know that Matt is not here today and Marcy is online and she is not well. So she may not chirp, we just had a quick little chat and she sounded horrible, but she is online. Sarah, Merrick. Yeah. Scott Strickland. Margaret.
I'm here.
Stacy, our new member. Sarah Duckwell. Ryan.
Hey, here.
Okay. John McKenzie. Do not see him online. And Patrick.
Present.
And Andrew is here, but he had to step out for just a moment. We're good.
Great. So, and I did want to welcome our new member, Stacy. Excited to work with you and address all the needs that you bring, forward from the construction industry and your experience. I don't know if you wanted to say hi or introduce it all, or if we just want to dive right into public comment.
Hi all, great to be here. Look forward to working with you all. Stacy Wellman with Fortis Construction. So I'm the controller over there. So bring the finance background and have always had some engagement with the worker comp process. So happy to bring value however I can. Thank you.
Great, welcome. So it looks like first thing up that we have is public comments.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that public comment. Reminder to folks online: if you can mute yourself if not talking, that's always nice. Any public comment from anyone? Seeing none, I see the next up that we have is Bob Livingston, Legislative Director for the Office of Governor Kotek. Yeah, sure.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bob Livingston. I'm the Legislative Director for Governor Kotek, Co-Chair Strickland, Co-Chair Priest, and committee members. I really didn't have an agenda. I just wanted to let you know that the Governor's office really appreciates the effort of this group and this body. We recognize this is, while it's a complex area of law, it's certainly a super important one, not only to the economy of the state, but at a micro level, certainly at the economy, at the worker level, to the families of injured workers and everyone involved, recognizing that it's super important, the work, and we value it a lot. And just wanted to let you know that we appreciate what you do. And if, certainly we'll work with the co-chairs and Director Stolfi, and just really want to thank you all for taking the time to delve into a super important issue to our state and to injured workers and everybody involved. And thank you for your service, and happy to answer any questions you may have, but really just wanted to let you know that we appreciate the work that you do.
Great. Thank you so much.
I would just like to make a comment just to thank you for recognizing us and coming here. I think it shows a lot of respect, and I really appreciate that very much. And I've only been on the committee a short time, but it hasn't happened before. So thank you very much for those efforts.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Can I also make a comment?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you're getting the information you need from MLAC, and if there's anything that you're not getting and would like more information on, please reach out to Terry. And have all of our blessing.
Thank you. No, and to that degree, super helpful. The staff does a great job. It staffs the committee, working with the director and all of you, and certainly our office is open and certainly work through the co-chairs. But if there's ever something that you need directly, and I think there's a need as the liaison to this committee, happy to have those conversations. Obviously, we want to be careful of quorums and those kind of things, but I'm happy to be available to address any concerns you may have.
Great. Thank you very much.
So I know next we have the review and approval of minutes from the September 7th meeting. I had received notice from a couple of folks, including myself, that we hadn't had time to review that entirely. So I was hoping we could bump that to next time, if that's okay
Of the minutes?
with everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Are there issues with the minutes?
No, I've been on the road for like 3 weeks, and so I
Oh.
haven't had time to review them.
Oh, okay.
Got an email from a couple other folks just saying, hey, yeah, hadn't been able to look
Okay.
at this yet.
Okay.
So if that's okay with everyone, if we can bump that over to next time. I don't think there'll be any issues. I just wanted to make sure everyone had time to review.
Time to review.
Yes.
Okay.
I have no issues and I have read them.
Okay. Oh,
Just for my feedback.
okay.
So moving on, I see we have department updates up next. And a 3-part on that, starting with Workers' Compensation Board case law updates with Lauren Eldridge.
And Lauren is online. There she
Oh.
is.
Can you hear me?
Can you, how do we turn it up? Can you turn the volume up, Lauren, some? Do I turn it up?
Thank you. There was an airplane going by my window, so that might be part of it.
Okay, all right.
Is that better?
Yes.
But
Yes.
okay. Thank you, co-chairs, members of MLAC. Thank you so much for having me today. I do have a brief case update. On September 20th, the board, sorry, Terry, do you have my slides up? Are you able to?
Bob is putting those up right now. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So on September 20th, the board issued a decision in a case called Michelle L. Nolden. And board members say had joined in the decision, but offered a concurring opinion. Next slide, please. Thank you. The Nolden decision concerned a worker requested medical examination. And for those of you that might not be familiar with that term, a worker requested medical examination, or a WORME as they're commonly referred to, as an examination as requested by an injured worker. It's performed by a physician selected by the DCBS director and paid for by the workers' compensation carrier. So it's one at no expense to the worker. A worker is entitled to a WORME under statute and a WCD administrative rule if 3 requirements are met. So the first requirement is that the worker must timely request a hearing with the board's hearings division on a denial of the compensability of the workers' compensation claim. The second requirement is that the denial must be based on a report from an independent medical examination requested by the carrier. And the third requirement is that the worker's attending physician or an authorized nurse practitioner does not concur with the independent medical examination report. Next slide, please. So at issue in the Nolden case was the second of those 3 requirements. That is whether the denial was based on an independent medical examination report. So the board has addressed this requirement in 3 previous decisions. So first, in a decision called Denise Amos, the board held that an independent medical examination for purposes of the WORME statute means an in-person examination, rather than a records review where the physician will review the records of an injured worker, but doesn't actually perform a physical examination. Next slide. So next, in a case called Melinda L. Gautier, the board held that a denial must be based in fact on an independent medical examination. So in that case, the record reflected that the denial was in fact based on a records review, but the denial itself erroneously stated that it was based on an independent medical examination. Examining the statute, The board concluded that despite the erroneous language in the denial, the statute required that the denial was in fact based on a independent medical examination. And in that case, that requirement was not met. And finally, in a case called Julie Dellinger, the board concluded the denial was not based on an independent medical examination at the time of the worker's warning.
Are you gonna get in the pool?
Because the independent medical examination was performed after the denial had already issued. Next slide. Returning to the
It's hot.
decision that was just issued in September, the board will summarize.
What?
the facts of that.
Hold on one second, please.
Yeah.
I would ask that anyone who is not actively talking or recognized mute themselves. Make sure to remain muted. It sounds like there's somebody on the phone currently who is not. Thank you. All right, my apologies, Lauren, please continue.
Thank you. All right, so the facts of the case were that the carrier had issued 3 denials of the worker's new or omitted medical condition claims related to her 2019 work injury. 2 of the 3 denials stated erroneously that they were based on independent medical examinations. The denials were all preceded by 2 record reviews rather than in-person examinations. An in-person examination was performed, but it was not performed until after all 3 denials were issued. And finally, one of the records reviews was initially scheduled as an in-person examination, but that examination was canceled and performed as a record review due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. Thank you, Bella. So analyzing those facts, the board concluded that the worker in the Nolden case was not entitled to a WRME because the denials were not based on an independent medical examination report. So first, relying on the Amos decision, the board concluded that the records reviews preceding the denials were not independent medical examinations because they were not in-person examinations. Next, relying on Gautier, the board concluded that although 2 of the denials erroneously stated that they were based on independent medical examinations, they were not in fact based on such examinations as required by the statute because the record reflected that they were based on record reviews. Next, citing the Dellinger decision, the board concluded that the denials were not based on the post-denial independent medical examination because it was performed after the denials had issued. Next slide, please. Finally, the board acknowledged the worker's argument that an independent medical examination was not available to her due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but explained that the statute requires that the denial be based on an in-person examination and that the board is not free to relax statutory requirements. Next slide, please. Thank you. So board member Seha offered an opinion in this case. He explained that he joined the lead opinion in the interest of adhering to previous board decisions, but referencing 2 prior concurring opinions authored by board member Uzi concerning worker requested medical examinations. Member Seha noted his concerns that the statutory requirements as interpreted by the board may restrict access to WRMEs for injured workers who might have limited resources in seeking medical opinions to support their claims. Next slide, please. Member Seha expressed his opinion that the policy considerations surrounding WRMEs, particularly providing some parity between the examinations available to carriers and those available to injured workers, would be better served by expanded access to WRMEs. Next slide, please. Accordingly, Member Seha suggested that MLAC and the legislature support policies that would expand WRME access to include situations where a denial is based on a record review or an independent medical examination is performed after issuance of a denial. That is all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
I see Margaret.
Hi, Lauren. Congratulations on your new position. And I just wanted to say thank you for bringing this to us in such a cogent manner. It's really, I think that we all try to keep up with what's going on, but the fact that you would bring this to us in this manner is really appreciated. And I'm sure others agree with me there. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Waddell. Nice to see you too.
And I will also kind of echo the thanks for not engaging in a flood of acronyms that we typically have to deal with, especially for some of the new members. It's helpful to have the description at the beginning. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Scott, we had a question online. They asked if we could get a copy of this, and this will be available online after the meeting. So I just wanted to let people know that are online.
Yeah, pretty much all the meeting materials are posted on the MLAC website under the meetings, and you can go there and find all of that. Oftentimes before the meetings as well. That helps with prep just for stakeholders and others in the room. Not seeing any other questions. Next up, I see, thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next up, I see workers' compensation update.
Yes, I do have a quick update. I just wanted to let you know that I'll be meeting with Teresa later in the week, and she's gonna give me the information about how we send out information to stakeholders along with the MLAC legislative guidelines. And I'm going to put in there, and we'd like to have these sooner rather than later, your legislative concepts. So that should be going out in the next week or so. The next thing that I'd like to share is that we have a video to share with you. It's not the MLAC video. It is a condensed video that we had on the MLAC website, the Mahoney Hall one that was 10 minutes long. Our video department condensed it to 3 minutes. So Angela would like your approval to put this new 3-minute, which Bob is going to show us here in just a second, video on the MLAC website. I reviewed it, but I'm not a video person. So with your approval, she will put this on the MLAC website. And I think it's good. But again,
Before we get to the video part, when you're sending out all the information to stakeholders about our guidelines,
yes.
and maybe just for a consensus from the group, I thought we'd be willing to entertain information before an LC was drafted, and just any heads up would be helpful. So maybe it doesn't have to be all the way through the LC process before we will consider it at MLAC. Is that true?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think we're always open to, and I think that's in the discussions with Patrick, kind of having the public comment as one tool that we have to make sure that we have at least any kind of a heads up of issues that may be coming down the pike, in terms of getting advance notice of LCs and other issues that are coming up.
So maybe in that communication state that it doesn't have to be through the whole LC process before we'll consider looking at it.
Absolutely. The ideas, whatever. Yeah, that's why I want to talk with Teresa, so I have a good idea of how we've done it in the past. So anyway,
Thank you.
okay.
Good point.
Oregon is one of the best workers' comp systems in the United States. There's a balance between what the employers are paying, the services that are being provided, and then the benefits that the employee receives. I think we've struck the right bargain and the right balance in Oregon.
One of the most groundbreaking reforms was the creation of the Management Labor Advisory Committee, or MLAC. The governor and legislators look to this committee for guidance on changes to Oregon's workers' compensation system. Continuing the legacy of the 1990 reforms, the committee is still made up of 5 members from both management and labor.
Whenever a bill is introduced that has to do with the workers' comp system, it's normally referred to MLAC first to see if MLAC can take a position on it. And if MLAC says, yep, thumbs up, we think this is a good piece of legislation, it doesn't automatically mean that it's going to pass, but it has a pretty good chance of passing. Whereas if MLAC says, no, this is a bad idea, then it usually doesn't get much legs.
The benefit of being in the MLAC system is that management and labor have to come together to talk about something. There's a lot of systems in which legislation is passed, and there's maybe debates on the House floor and some behind the scenes activity, but there isn't this same public discourse that's required before a piece of legislation or a significant change can pass on to becoming, implemented.
I believe through MLAC process versus without MLAC, then I don't believe that there would be as many voices heard and as many perspectives heard through that process. MLAC provides that opportunity and then can provide information to our legislators to make the policy decisions.
The committee is the reason Oregon has such a strong workers' compensation system. While businesses pay some of the lowest rates in the country, injured workers get some of the most robust benefits, and everyone gains from strong safety measures and an overall reduction in injuries. The Management Labor Advisory Committee ensures balance, so no single narrow agenda can drive changes to workers' compensation. It's a system that works for everyone.
I hope MLAC stays in place, and I would hope that people from both sides of the aisle that come sit at the table, their intent and their desire when they're sitting at that table is to do the right thing for the workers' comp system.
Our predecessors really dug in and figured out this is how we want this system to work. And so for those of us on MLAC, for those that come after the current members, it's just so key that we continue to keep those tenets in mind as we go forward. It's tantamount to our being able to maintain the system the way that it is.
Music.
So again, much shorter than the 10-minute one.
Can we sync the audio track better with the video or with the?
I think it was, yeah, so I noticed there was a lag in the audio sync on that. Watching it on Terry's screen, there wasn't. So I have a feeling it just bouncing around the internet to the, I noticed that as well.
Thank you for watching it there without the lag. Distracting for me.
Any comments or questions on that?
I watched the 10-minute one and I don't remember what would be cut out. So it seems very complete. 3 minutes was just fine.
Signs of good editing.
Yeah, I think the 3 minutes is great. 10 minutes is a little too long. You're gonna keep attention more. So, yeah, absolutely. And you seem to cover all the points. So absolutely.
Okay.
For it.
Right.
Great. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, perfect. I will let Angela know. And they will start working on our other video that will go with the legislative process. So, okay. That is everything that I have.
Great. Okay. So, and that's the MLAC video update too. I figured
Yes.
we just remember. Okay.
Yes.
So I see up next we have OHSU Institute of Occupational Health Sciences presentation with Aaron Flynn.
Oh. And should we sit up here?
Yeah, sure, right over here.
I'm gonna bring the team up and a little bit hard to see our slides.
You have a screen right in the
There
back.
should be, yeah, back there.
Oh, okay.
Get your glasses.
I gotta get my other glasses. Okay. These are my reading glasses. I gotta get my driving glasses. I can also just look at my computer.
I have to use my computer, so. I know.
Can we put it in slideshow?
Sure.
Then we'll put it bigger. Yeah, better. Great. Okay. I still think, well, yeah. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. We are really delighted to be here. My name's Erin Flynn, and I am the Outreach Program Director at the Oregon Institute of Occupational Health Sciences, which is a mouthful, as Sally and I just discussed. And I'm here with my colleagues, Amy Spring and Emily Wong, and we are really excited to share with you some of the work that we're doing. We want to focus today on what we call research to practice. So the Institute is primarily a research institute, and we have faculty, anywhere between 13 to 17 faculty, who are addressing all different aspects of health, safety, and well-being in the workplace. But we also have a very strong mandate through the Workers' Compensation Fund to translate that research into practice. So getting the implications of the research into the hands of the people who can use it, employers, workers, organizations. So we're going to talk today about some of the ways that we do that. And we'll have time for conversation. So I'm going to provide, oh, next slide. I'm doing it here. Next slide. I'm going to provide a brief Institute overview because I think some of you are likely new, some of you know the Institute, some of you don't, but we only come once a year, so having some context will be helpful. And then Amy, who's our Senior Dissemination and Outreach Specialist, is going to share how we translate research to practice primarily through our educational materials. And then Emily is going to share a very interesting project that we're working on right now with the Bureau of Labor and Industry to create respectful workplaces in the construction industry. Okay, so to get started, next slide. Our institute is dedicated to the health and safety of the workforce, and our mission is to promote well-being and prevent disease and disability among working Oregonians. We do this through research, outreach, and education, and we're going to talk about all of those in our presentation. So just a little bit about how we're funded. We are extremely fortunate to have funding from the Oregon Workers Compensation Fund. We call that our base funding. We leverage our base funding to secure highly competitive federal grants. So as you can see, we have leveraged our base funding in 2022 to secure $7 million in competitive NIH, National Institute of Health, and CDC, Center for Disease Control grants, for a total budget of a little over $11 million. This is just an example of some of the kinds of research that we bring into the Institute. So in 2023, these were some of our largest grants. Matt Butler secured a 5-year, $2.7 million grant from the NIH. He's looking at the relationship between shift work and infertility, which is a very complex and interesting area. David Hurtado received a $1.8 million grant to do safe patient handling research in hospitals in rural Oregon. My colleague right here, Emily, received a grant from NIOSH to promote women in trades. And actually, 2 of our projects here are focused on construction. We're doing a lot of work in construction around how to diversify the construction workforce, how to create psychologically safe workplaces for women and minorities working in the construction industry. And Emily's going to talk more about her project in a few minutes. So as I mentioned, we conduct our work through sort of 4 main areas. Research is fundamentally where all of our work starts. We work very closely with our partners to push our research out. We have a robust education program, and we put a lot of work out through outreach, dissemination, and communication. So starting with research, we have 4 primary research areas. Next slide, please. Thank you. All of our work at the Institute falls into the following 4 categories: environmental exposure, sleep and circadian health, safety at work, and supportive workplace practices. So environmental exposure is largely faculty who are involved in basic research, looking at the ways that chemical toxins, smoke, and heat impact human physiology. We have a very large group of faculty focused on sleep and circadian health. We talked a lot about that last year at a number of workers' compensation meetings. Primarily, this focus is on how shift work impacts both physical and mental health of workers. And that's actually quite a complex and has really huge impact on health. We all know, whether we work at night or work in the day, if we don't sleep, we're a mess, right? So we all know about that. Safety at work is what you might expect, eliminating hazards and injuries and fatalities in the workplace. But increasingly, and this is something we're really going to talk about today, safety at work also includes psychosocial safety at work and mental health at work. And this is an issue that's gaining a lot of momentum recently, particularly since COVID, and we're going to talk more about that. Our 4th area is supportive workplace practices. And these are actually the interventions and the programs and the trainings and the tools that come out of our research that can be used in the workplace to create healthier, safer, better conditions for workers. So in this presentation in particular, we're going to look at safety at work and supportive workplace practices. And these are really our applied research. We do basic research, we do clinical research and applied research, and these are our applied areas. So all of our work in this area, our applied research, is informed by, next slide please, the concept of total worker health. Is this a term that people are familiar with? Yes? Okay, good. So total worker health is Total worker health is a framework developed by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, one of our key partners. And this is sort of a way to think about worker well-being that is expansive and moves beyond physical safety as the single driving way that we think about health and safety in the workforce. It's more expansive in the sense that it includes psychosocial safety, and it really looks at management practices, the work environment, and the organization of work as determinants in creating a healthy and safe workplace. So all of our work takes place in the context of a total worker health framework. And we are, in fact, one of 10 centers of excellence in the country for total worker health. This is a significant partnership that we have with NIOSH. There are 10 centers across the country, and we're part of a really active research community that shares information and partners and does research together to really understand best practices in total worker health, evidence-based interventions based on the research that contribute to better workplaces, healthier workplaces for workers. These are the current research projects that we're involved in. We're in our third cycle of funding with NIOSH, and this brings in $7 million over 5 years, so it's a significant grant for us, and we really are sort of the hub for total worker health in the Pacific Northwest. Our area represents the entire Pacific Northwest, not just Oregon. An additional program that we work on that is supported by NIOSH is the Oregon Occupational Public Health Program. This is a program that surveys fatalities across the state of Oregon. So our team investigates fatalities in Oregon, writes reports, works closely with Oregon Health Authority to think through policy changes that could minimize or eliminate conditions that have led to fatalities. I want to emphasize that we could not do our work without partners, and we have a really robust set of partners in Oregon that we work with very closely, and these partnerships take multiple forms. Some of our partners are research sites for our work. Others are implementation sites, and those are sites that are implementing our tools and trainings. And others are educational partners. So for example, Oregon OSHA and SAFE Corporation are our close educational partners. We've developed with them something called the Total Worker Health Curriculum, and we deliver and teach that curriculum across the state of Oregon with those partners. The Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industry, on the other hand, has contracted with us to produce work to create respectful workplaces in the construction industry. I'll pull one more example. City of Portland and City of Eugene Fire and Rescue. We're working with those two organizations on testing different schedules for firefighters. So this is one of the sleep research programs. Now that's a research partnership, but depending on what comes out of that, it could become a significant implementation partnership with firefighters across the country. So I want to just shift gears here for a minute because this is sort of transitioning into the rest of the presentation. I mentioned that total worker health takes a comprehensive and expansive view of safety in the workplace. And what we've seen in the last 5 years with the kind of social upheaval that's happened in our country, from the Me Too movement to Black Lives Matters to what we know has happened through COVID, is that issues of mental health in the workplace, issues of discrimination and harassment in the workplace have become more present in our public dialogue. Like things that we didn't maybe talk about 10 years ago, only in private, we're now having those conversations in public, open dialogue and debate. And what's interesting is that these three frameworks that I have on the slide here, ISO 9000 standards in psychological health and safety in the workplace, World Health Organization guidelines to improve mental health at work, and the Surgeon General's report on mental health at work have all come out in just the last 3 years. Now, these are high-level documents, and it takes a long time for this work to make its way down into, workers' compensation law. But it's significant that this is happening and that these are out there and that people are talking about them. And so we're going to be focusing on these issues in the subsequent presentations. I did want to just sort of raise the question, because I am not a workers' compensation expert, but I did try to go in and understand, does the state of Oregon recognize mental injury as a compensable condition? And the answer is yes, it does. And some states don't. So Oregon is, more progressive in this regard. But the bar for demonstrating that the mental injury happened at work through exceptional circumstances, I think the bar is high. But there is a presumption for first responders that the work environment does create the mental injury or stress because of the nature of the work they do. But I would just suggest that we're at the very beginning and early stages of beginning to think about responsibility, compensation, and how we address issues of mental injury between employers, the healthcare system, workers' compensation, and of course, individual responsibility. So I'm going to turn it over to Amy, who's going to talk about some of our work in education in this space.
I have a question before, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. Just on the financial side of things.
Yeah.
Majority of the funding on the pie seems to be grant funding.
Yeah.
So how do you determine continuity through research and ensuring that the funding remains stable? Is it just grants typically are available and there's no issue in continuation of funding, because the work you do is important.
Do you mean the federal funding?
I was just looking at the pie chart, and there's more funding coming from grants.
Right. So, I mean, we have faculty who are very specialized in their areas of expertise. And the way that grant funding with federal agencies typically works is that, well, you know more, Emily, but you develop relationships with program officers in these big federal agencies who are sort of tracking your research and supporting your research over time. So if you get a 5-year grant, right, to do this, for example, this work on fertility and shift work, if the research is promising and successful, it's likely that you will get, right, a follow-on grant. And we've been working this way for 20 years. So far, so good. And I think it speaks to the quality of our faculty. I mean, we really have world-class experts in our institute. And I mean, Emily will tell you, it's not easy securing these grants. It's a lot of work, but we've been quite successful over time.
So funding is stable.
I guess that's a way of saying funding is stable. But it's made stable by the workers' compensation funding. I will say, without that funding, it would be a lot harder for us to do what we do. And we are very thankful for that. It gives us a kind of nice, secure base from which we can then go out and pursue this other funding.
Thank you. Add to that really quick. And
Absolutely.
again, thank you. I just say I would really, as a researcher, we really appreciate to have the space fund to help us. Like I just shared with Aaron, the past 2 days, I joined NIOSH to review grants. There are over 100 grants. And I got one for last year, only 2 funded, the whole country.
So competitive.
So it's very competitive. And again, we really appreciate to have the support. And then again, very, very proud of our colleagues. So we are able to continue to extend, bringing federal funding to support the research.
I would just add one more thing, is that for reasons of simplicity, Aaron created a pie chart that is basically, it shows grants and then other. But in the grants category, there are contracts that come. So it's not just grants, like the Bowley project.
Right, we
is
just
a
got a big contract from Bowley.
It's a contract to expand Emily's work into the construction industry. But it's not, just for reasons of simplicity, it's a little bit more nuanced around the funding. Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. I just want to.
Yeah, it's just a.
Most of it's grants, though.
Yeah, most of it is grants.
It's stable for 30 years, actually.
Yeah. We're doing all right. We're doing all right. But thank you. Okay.
You pretty much answered my question. Along the same vein of financing, how long have you guys been around?
30 years.
Yeah.
30 years.
I appreciate that. Okay. Strong institution then, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Take it
I'm
away,
going to
Amy.
stand because I have notes and of course, or my vision. Aaron's already introduced me, but I'll just remind you. My name's Amy Spring and I work on the outreach team, and my primary focus of my work is around working with faculty researchers to help disseminate and create materials that can be accessible and usable to Oregon employers and to workers. So that plays out in lots of ways. Today, I'm going to focus on the next slide, please. The 3 educational strategies that we use. But before I do that, I want to talk about the data that we access that helps us know that psychosocial hazards in the workplace are a place that we should focus on in our work. So do that, and then I want to talk about these 3 strategies that we use to disseminate and make accessible the research outputs.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Or can you define psychosocial hazards? I think I have an idea of what it means, but just to define it.
Yeah, a psychosocial hazard is, as opposed to a physical hazard, is a mental hazard. So conditions in the workplace that might create severe anxiety, depression, you know, an inability to work constructively with your colleagues because of repeated abusive behavior. So it's anything in the kind of mental, emotional sphere that is causing duress in the workplace.
We've defined it to physical health and psychological health.
Yeah.
So the hazard contribute to injuries, workplace, physical health, or the factor that contribute to the psychological stress, depression, and all of that. So that's psychosocial hazard.
So the definition of the hazard is really, could be anything. It's just what the result is, the psychosocial.
The hazard can impact physical and mental as well, right? Very good point.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So mental health problems are really common problems. And the data that I'm going to cite here is a little bit even old. It's 2017 data. I think that these data could be even higher than what we're seeing here. So 1 in 5 adults 18 and older have reported a mental illness in 2016. And 71% of adults have reported one symptom of stress, things like headache, anxiety, anxiousness. These don't have to do with the workplace, they have to do with people's personal conditions. So what we're not talking about here today is mental health disorders. These are the most serious of mental health conditions. They are acute or chronic, and they often require significant treatment. And so when I get further in the presentation, I'm going to talk about the role of supervisors in helping to support workers who are experiencing mental health issues in the workplace. We're not talking about supervisors addressing these kinds of more serious diagnoses that come from, the Diagnostic and Statistical Mental Health Disorders book or framework. What we are talking about is people who experience a mental health challenge in their life that prevents them from fully contributing to their communities. They have an inability to fully engage in their work life with their colleagues, and they're experiencing some level of compromise. It could be burnout, it could be anxiety that causes them to have to miss days at work, and they're not able to engage the resilience that we all have to engage in at some times when we're challenged with something. Resilience to continue to engage in our work. Next slide, please. So the purpose of my talk today is really to discuss what is relevant to employers and what can employers do, and supervisors more specifically do, to help employees who are experiencing some mental health challenges. So this has a real financial cost to employers and to workers. Not all mental health issues that we're talking about are happening in the workplace. People do have mental health issues that they bring in to their work. But what we're trying to focus on here is, are there things that supervisors that supervisors can do to recognize? Are there psychosocial hazards happening in the workplace that is contributing to exacerbating the mental health concerns that a person comes with? What I have, this data I have here comes from the American Psychiatric Association, the Center for Workplace and Mental Health. And depression is the leading cause of disability in the US, costing over $210 billion annually. These costs are really about, lost productivity and absence in the workplace. But even in addition to the mental health and depression, people also are reporting high levels of job stress, and persistent job stress can contribute to mental health conditions for workers. This range here that I have on this slide, I want to just note that I know it's large, and it's because it's very, very difficult to understand fully how job stress affects people's lives and the finances of their lost productivity in work. I think it's suffice to say that it exists. So. Okay, in 2018, the U.S. Department of Labor has some statistics about workers who are not only experiencing mental health problems, but this data also tells us that they're open to mental health support in the workplace. So this data helps us see that if workers are sort of open to having a supportive workplace around mental health, workplace structures that help to support their mental health. What we want to say is that 63% of Americans are in the labor force. And if mental health concerns is a concern in general in the population, if we can do anything in the workplace that helps to support people's mental health, then we're touching a lot of people. We're making a big impact on the population. Next slide, please. So there's a variety of studies that, this slide looks different than mine.
No, just go to the next slide.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Thank you. I didn't realize it was active like that. So there's a variety of studies that connect the cost of mental health and the connection between mental health and physical health. And total worker health calls on us that framework calls on us to examine the connections between physical health and mental health. These studies are basically saying there are, if you have a mental health concern or a mental health problem, then there's there's a big connection between the mental health and the physical health. You probably have a second comorbidity physical issue in the workplace. So if you have a mental health concern, the chances are higher that you have a respiratory condition, you have also have a muscle or also have a muscle or bone joint ailments. Diabetes, there's a connection between mental health and diabetes. So it's important to see the connection between the mental health and physical health. Next slide, please. So this is a graphic which I find to be very helpful in talking about total worker health. Erin mentioned it already, but just this visually kind of captures what we're talking about when we talk about the total worker health framework. basically, this framework kind of really drives a lot of the ways in which our researchers think about their work. And they're basically saying there are physical conditions at work, and there are workplace psychosocial conditions, but also people come in with home life and the conditions in their community. And they also come in with personal health practices that and it's the intersection between these things that total worker health calls on us to look at. I'll just leave it at that. So next slide, please. Erin also mentioned that we have a very, very important, so now I want to get into the sort of ways in which we take this research and put it into practice. And Erin also mentioned that we have this very important partnership. It's called the Oregon Total Worker Health Alliance. It's a partnership between SAFE and Oregon OSHA. And staff from the Institute, from SAFE and Oregon OSHA work together to offer courses and educational programming on total worker health. Often this is done through these teams collectively, going to Oregon OSHA sponsored conferences and other conferences and offering classes in these topics. So I've just given a snapshot here of the curriculum and the various time investment that it takes for people to attend these classes. And I guess I also should definitely say that these classes are not really just focused on psychosocial health. They're focused on the previous slide's framework around total worker health, which is broader. Yes.
I'm confused. Who is the target audience for these classes?
Yeah. So typically they are occupational health
professionals
in the field. Typically, that's a lot of who come, occupational health professionals in the industry, but not only. Recently, our team has been trying to work more with people who are in unions and helping them to learn about this total worker health model.
I think that'd be very helpful for a lot of the apprenticeship programs and the construction trades especially, and we'd love to reach out and talk to you more about that.
That'd be great. It's really, it can be delivered to any group. It could be delivered to C-suite executives, apprentices, occupational health practitioners. It's because it is this comprehensive way of thinking about work and how to organize work to optimize worker health. It really can be delivered at multiple levels.
And what I have learned is that, it's a framework. So these classes call on people to think about what are the structures in their own industry or in their own organization. Where do these topics have an intersection that they can move?
And customize it.
Okay, next slide, please. So I want to shift a little bit now to talking about the role of the supervisors, because it is a significant investment of the unit of analysis that we pour some of these dissemination materials in. We create materials that can be accessible and by supervisors, because we think that supervisors have a significant role in helping to support workers who are challenged with around mental health concerns. And some may say, well, I'm not experienced in that. I don't know how, I'm not a mental health expert. That's true. That is true. And we're not expecting the supervisors to be mental health experts, but the tools that we have to share with you are ones that help you start to see some warning signs and help you to practice some words to talk to people around these very sensitive topics. So, and other people might say that, well, if someone comes in with mental health concerns, what role does the workplace have in supporting that? The research shows that in all of these topics, or all of these concepts here, contribute to mental health concerns for workers. Workers who have lack of autonomy in the workplace, who don't have sense of job security, who have conflict around communication, either with their supervisor, with their coworkers, people who have experienced harassment or bullying in the workplace. These are all issues that are ones that supervisors can address, and they are ones that contribute to people's reporting of stress, anxiety, and mental health concerns in the workplace. So, next slide, please. We have a whole suite of materials that we have on an accessible website called the Center for Supportive Leadership. I've included a snapshot of this website here. There are a set of supervisor-oriented trainings. They are free and low cost. Typically, they are 1-hour videos that are accompanied with supplementary materials that invite supervisors to track the ways in which they're interacting with their employers. So it's a video, but then it also has some supplementary educational materials. So I'll just go to the next slide, please.
Are those bilingual?
I'm sorry?
Are those bilingual or multilingual?
Some of them are, but not as many as
We're working on
not as
translating.
many, but they are all, because they're all videos, you can turn on the translation in closed caption. I want to highlight one in particular that's been around for a while. People who know us are familiar with this video that we have. It's around, it's called, we refer to it as SHIP. It's basically focused on a training that's focused on for managers and supervisors. It's evidence-based training, and it teaches participants to improve work and life balance, and helps supervisors model for employers how to have conversations with their workers that improve belonging and improve their capacity to have work-life balance. And again, this is a 1-hour training, and it has supplementary materials that basically call on the supervisor to practice these conversations with their workers, but then also to track their own behavior so that they're ensuring that they're putting into practice or some of the lessons learned from this training. This one has been around for a while. It's on the SAFE website. We have it on ours too, but a lot of people know it because it is on the SAFE training website available for people across the state. Next slide, please. So this training is again on our website, Center for Supportive Leadership. This is a new training that's only really been active and live for maybe a month. It comes out of the work of our esteemed colleague Leslie Hammer. Some may know her. She's very active in the field of occupational psychology, and she and her colleagues developed this training. It's an evidence-based program that teaches leaders to basically supportive strategies that help protect and promote positive mental health. And this training is very actionable. You know, it basically says, here are some red warning signs that you might see in the workplace. And just having this warning sign does not mean there's a problem, but having these warning signs are conditions that you might want to ask some follow-up questions. And oh, by the way, those are hard questions to ask. So here are some ways you can approach it. Very, very actionable and applied. And then I'll go to the next slide. So I've already talked about the total worker health education classes. I've talked about, I said I was going to talk about 3 things. So I talked about the total worker health education classes that we offer. I talked about the online trainings that are available that are focused on supportive supervision. And now I want to talk about this last dissemination tool that we use. Twice annually, we host a symposium, and they used to be in person, but in more recent times, they're all have been virtual. I just selected a few topics that we have addressed in these some recent symposia. They're day long, and they're organized around a theme. Often there are a series of talks that are given, some by practitioners or people from labor or from industry, and also accompanied with faculty researchers from OHSU, but also from around the country. So we do this twice annually. Symposium, one in the spring and one in the fall. They're very, very low cost. They allow people who have to get professional development credits for their industry and their health and safety. And they're able to get those by participating in these workshops. And I guess the only other thing I'll say about these is that we do this. Our target audience in these is the occupational health and safety professionals. That's who we're targeting with these, but it's not exclusive. But we really do try to create a theme and a topic, a theme and a method of pedagogy that is accessible for the audience, and it takes into account what this audience is interested in. And then the last thing I'll say is, when Erin said we have educational partners, we do this symposium series in partnership with Portland State. So we really partner hand in glove with that institution in putting this together. The last slide that I am going to show you before I turn it over to my colleagues is this most recent, the upcoming fall symposium, which will be on October 27th. This one is focused on hazardous occupations, and it's the QR code will take you to the agenda for the day and give you a snapshot of what we plan to have happen that day. And I think that we'll end with the slide too, but and the registration page. I think that's it.
Great. Okay, we're gonna.
Thank you. I think that was very interesting. I know discussions of the money, I always find interesting, specifically because of the access to the data that we have available. And I know I'm a bit of a broken record here saying this is an amount that has an economic value attached to it that doesn't take into account the sort of uncaptured productive activity that you'd mentioned, that the community members, you know, the spouses, the children, the grandparents, everybody else in the community that kind of structures and supports those workers, the impacts that it has there as well in the activity that they're able to kind of support the community and do all of that. I know, you know, when I was an injured worker, the burden that was shifted upon to my family and my community to help kind of bolster and take care of care, and that was, you know, a physical injury, but kind of a mental health situation seems, I don't want to say contagious because that's not exactly the word, but can kind of spread into the community in a way that you're seeing all of these kinds of, uncaptured or unstudied impacts that I think is really fascinating, that we're kind of beginning to delve into that and have those discussions and recognize the work that, supportive spouses and children and intergenerational families and stuff have on somebody's ability to just show up to work every day.
Yeah. So what you're describing, I think I use the word collateral. It's not contagious, but there's like this collateral damage or collateral that happens as a result of this kind of injury. On our supportive leadership website, I didn't go into this, but there is a set of materials that are focused on veterans. And some of those materials do get at, what's the effect of the, when a veteran is struggling, a veteran is struggling on the families, and then what's the role the family can play in helping to support that. So.
Yeah, great.
Please do check out our website. There are great resources on there. The trainings that Amy mentioned, but many, many others as well. And they are low cost, easily accessible, and we're really building up the portfolio of training that's available.
We're on the cusp of launching one that's focused on mental health and first responders.
Yeah. So now we're going to turn it over to Emily, and Emily is developing a very cool tool related to respectful workplaces in the construction industry. And this is going to be a big area for us in the next couple of years. We have several interrelated projects related to construction and respectful workplaces. So take it away, Emily.
Before I share my work, I do like to mention to Scott, I have a project a few years ago. That project, I interviewed like 200 CFO in the country for different countries. I asked them what's the cost of direct cost of it, indirect cost of safety. And the result I get is $1 spent on a direct cost. There are $4 indirect cost associated attached to it. And I published that information in Professional Safety. That's a journal from American Safety Engineer Society. So good morning, I'm Emily Huang, and I'm an associate professor at OHSU. Very honored, very happy to be here today. And I'm an occupational health psychologist. And then I graduated from Portland State University, and I have been doing safety and health research and consulting projects for over 20 years. Very happy to be here. And my training is in system science and industrial organizational psychology. And at OHSU, I lead a safety climate lab. The mission of our lab is to help organizations build good workplace culture and climate, enhance employee safety and health, and build a respectful workplace environment. And I'm very happy to be here and then have a chance, very honored to have a chance to share with you a project. It's about developing and validating a respectful workplace climate scale. So we have a short 2-3 minutes video we'd like to share with you, a little bit background about this project.
Terry, can you start the video? Or is it?
I should have it over there.
Oh, sorry, I don't know.
Is there a video?
Is there a video?
It's not embedded?
There's a video here, right? So can we switch to that? You have it?
Yeah, maybe she can just put that up.
Directly share it. Oh no, it's just a video.
Because we're in the Zoom link, I don't think it'll share. Yeah, because we're in the meeting link.
Okay, or would that go down? If you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
click it to this.
Can they email it to you and you could?
I don't have my.
Or
Yeah, because we're in the video link.
Could you allow her in the meeting? and then
Yeah,
allow
join
her
the
to
meeting
present?
and then give her the share privilege.
Actually, it's on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
If you can type respectful workplace.
If it's on YouTube, just tell me how to get to it.
Oh,
just
okay.
Just
We can
Google.
figure this
I
out.
thought we were
Absolutely.
set. I thought we had it all
I
wired.
didn't realize there was
Of
a
course
video
not.
embedded in the
Couple
PowerPoint.
PhDs,
Yeah.
maybe a few other, we'll get it
It
fixed.
never fails.
Apologies, I didn't know there was a video embedded in the PowerPoint.
No, it's okay.
Hold on.
It's funny.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Okay, we need to talk. We're doing a lot of work in this space right now. Perfect. Good. Woohoo. Nice work.
All right.
Hi, I'm Dr. Emily Yu Chapong. I am an associate professor at the Oregon Institute of Occupational Health Science at Oregon Health and Science University.
There it is.
Yeah, that's why I'm way on the computer. That's fine, right? Well, I'm here, so I can answer questions. So just go ahead, yes.
Is it the volume, Baba? Is that the issue?
All right, let's just try it.
At OHSU, I lead the Safety Club MLAC. The vision of our lab is to help organizations protect the safety, health, and well-being of their workers. As a team of dedicated researchers in occupational health science, we strive to help organizations cultivate the culture of safety and respect in their workplace. One of our recent research projects is the development and validation of a respectful workplace climate scale. We believe that respect in the workplace is critical, creating healthier and more productive environment. With the backdrop of rising instances of workplace mistreatment and bullying, our respectful workplace climate scale takes on even more relevance because such negative behaviors can result in diminished worker well-being, lead to increased stress, and potentially escalate turnover rates. This is a cycle that deeply affects both individuals and organizations, as it disrupts workers' work-life balance, causes emotional distress, and ultimately impacts an organization's cohesion and effectiveness. This is why our respectful workplace climate scale is designed to assist organizations making data-driven decisions to nurture a respectful work environment. You might wonder, has a holistic climate scale like this been done before? Yes, it has. Our scale builds upon scientifically proven quantitative methodology that we've successfully applied in the field of occupational health and science. By focusing on important workplace factors like justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, and civility, this comprehensive tool extends existing empowers organizations to better understand the effects of their organizational climate in order to make more effective decisions. This project is probably supported by the Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT, and the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industry, OLI. It supports ODOT's goal of increasing minorities and women in the construction workforce by establishing workplaces where they feel safe and welcome. Together, we can make a workplace where respect is not just a principle, it's a measurable and celebrated standard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It worked. Next one. So as we share with you, we really appreciate this project is funded by Oregon Department of Transportation and Bureau of Labor Industries. So that's from it's called Workforce Development Programs. And then these projects contribute to fostering, promoting, and measuring respectful workplace culture and climate, especially in the construction industry for this particular project. But the scale we develop can apply to all different industries, but we focus on construction as the first industries to focus. So I heard you from Fortis, right? Yes.
I saw
Pictures
those
from
of it.
Fortis.
Yeah.
I also went to Singapore for the job site. That's the picture from the job site, construction job site in Singapore.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. Yes. So the goal of this project is to develop and validate a reliable, multifaceted, respectful workplace climate scale. And before I joined OHSU, I worked as a safety researcher at Liberty Mutual Research Institute for Safety for 17 years. So during my time at Liberty Mutual, my team and we have developed multiple safety climate scales. We published the scale in scientific journals. We have implemented tool with over 100 companies and organizations across the whole country. Very happy to come back to Oregon. I've joined OHSU for about 5 years now, and I appreciate, as Erin shared with you, we have a project funded by NIOSH. So we have been extending our safety climate survey and tool to develop a total worker health climate scale. So in that total worker health climate scale, we extend safety, culture, and climate to include physical health and climate. And the third component is the mental health and well-being climate. So altogether is the total worker health, culture, and climate. Again, we extend from 40 years of safety climate research, extended to the physical health, really important, to the mental health and well-being. And this particular project, we really appreciate, we extend further. It's not only helping employees create a safe and healthy environment, also build a respectful workplace, extending really from the safety climate research to have the whole system thinking and the whole big pictures of the workplace. So a little bit background about safety culture and safety climate. So what is safety culture and safety climate? So you may heard a little bit about it. So safety climate, first introduced by Professor Dov Zohar from Israel. They have been 40 years. You see that first article in the scientific literature back in 1980. So there are 40 years of quality research in the scientific communities about safety culture and climate. So safety climate is defined as employees' shared perceptions of their company's safety policies, procedures, and practices. So it is seen through employees' eyes. So we collect data from employee opinion surveys. And the safety climate survey, the score is taking a snapshot, one moment in time of the safety culture of the company. So safety climate survey is an indicator of the culture, where the company really care about safety of the place, yes, the workplace. It's about overall importance and the true or relative priority of safety at work. As we all know, a lot of companies put big signs everywhere. Safety is number one. Safety is number one. But when schedule is behind, safety is no longer number one, right? So we are talking about what you say. It's not enough. It's what you do. Right? It's probably not a surprise to you. The number one dimension of safety, culture, and climate is leadership commitment, the management commitment to safety. It's important for managers to prioritize safety when there's a competing demand. Not just safety is important when nothing happens, when the schedule is behind, when I need money, when I need time, then safety being sacrificed. It's during, no matter what situation, across different situations, safety is still important. It's not just what you say, that's what you do. And employee perceive that. And then they bring that to the surveys. So we collect data from the whole companies and then using data, real numbers to label. And they scientifically have shown safety climate survey score is one of the best leading indicator for future injuries. A lot of companies do accident analysis, right? Especially when disaster happens. But it's too late. Right? Sometimes it's too late when disaster happens. The company can use leading indicator, such as a climate scale, have a score now, and scientifically have shown the best indicator, best predictor for future injury. Don't wait until accident happens. Company can use leading indicator now to know whether your place is safe or not.
Next slide, yeah.
So drawing from the safety climate research, we define respectful workplace climate scale as seen through employees' eyes. Employees share perception of their company's policies, procedures, and practices as it related to building a respectful workplace. Again, from safety to total worker health to the respectful workplace. Again, what the company do, not just what they say, it's really what they do. And the overall importance or the true or relative priority during competing demands, whether this is important things, they really care, not just what they say. And again, the management commitment will be the #1 dimensions for the companies to build a good cultural climate. Leaders are the ones who create the cultural climate for the companies. It's a system that started from the top. So this particular project and scale, we have 2 specific aims. We apply the best scientific approach to develop these scales. We have 2 aims. It's a mixed method approach. That means we interview experts, we interview workers, and then we combine both qualitative interviews and also we apply statistics, collect a lot of data from companies. We run statistics to make sure our scale is a good predictors for important outcomes. Now we are not just only asking the descriptive, how many women you have, that's important. We also want to say their situation really predict to future important outcomes. So we apply a lot of statistics, scientific methods to develop these scales. So, okay, yes. And
Next
then,
slide, yeah.
yes, some key dimensions has been identified from the scientific literature. So what does that mean to have a respectful workplace? And we also conduct interviews with subject matter experts from employees, tradeswomen, tradesmen, supervisors, safety directors, even president of construction companies. So we summarize those results. We propose several, this is 5 dimensions relevant to a respectful workplace. So the workplace should be free of discrimination. The workplace should embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. There should be organizational justice. The workplace should be free from harassment, and there should be workplace civility. So those are just 5 key dimensions, drawing from the literature, drawing from our qualitative data. So we design our survey questions based on those key dimensions to start.
Next slide.
Yeah. And also from the literature, we identify what are the key findings if a company have a respectful workplace. It's probably not surprising. We have data, we have number to show when a company with it is a respectful workplace, their employees have better health conditions. Their employees have less interpersonal conflict, lower turnover rate, the higher level of performance, even job performance. They are happier, healthier, they are good performers as well, and also better mental health well-being, such as lower level of stress and depression. The Again, we all have scientific data, but of course you can understand and expect that. So after we develop the scales, we anticipate that we will demonstrate the impact of our survey in climate score, predict important safety outcomes as well. Safety outcomes, physical health, mental health outcomes, well-being outcome, all the way to organizational outcomes, such as lower turnover rate, better performance. And we see that on the literature. Already have evidence and data to show for that. So for our scales, we have 4 factors. So the first 3 factors specific to the respectful workplace climate. First is the company label. As I shared with you, it is important leaders create a cultural climate. So we have a set of questions specifically to ask what's the company's overall policy, procedure, practices. Do they say they care about you? Do they really do it? Not just what you say about what you do. So if you mind, go back to previous slides. And we have a different set of questions to ask about supervisors. Supervisors create a local cultural climate. So there's different labels, the overall companies, the local cultural climate. And in terms of build a respectful workplace, co-workers are very important. So we have a different set of questions, ask them about their co-workers, what their co-workers contribute to the respectful workplace. So we will combine, again, using system approach from top to local cultures to co-workers. And we also develop and validate a specific set of outcome variables. That's personal experience. When you work in the place, the top really care, building a good place. The supervisors, good local culture, sometimes there's some gap, and then co-workers all together. What's your experience? And next slide, please. So after we develop validated scale, we anticipate our scale can be used, number 1, to evaluate the current status, the current cultural climate for your company in terms of respectful workplace. Again, drawing from the literature, safety climate. And the respectful workplace climate scale can be used as a benchmark. If we collect data from multiple, as I shared with you, we have data collected from over 100 companies. We can build a benchmark data. So when you get the score of 3, what does that mean? Compared to other construction companies, wrong industry, what does that mean? Right? So it can be used as a benchmark or yardstick. Some companies do the survey once a year. This year your score is 3. Next year you drop to 2.8. Then you do some change. There's some change. You get a new CEO, new managers, change it to 4. What does that mean? It can be used as a yardstick. Again, it's a scientific validated score that link it to important outcomes. So when you see the number change, that really indicates it can impact important outcomes. And the third one, when company decided to implement some interventions, right? The respectful workplace training, for example. Does the training make any difference? Right? So you can use the survey before and after. Your training score was 2.8. After you implement a year of important programs, you want to see the actual change. And that change really means something to the future important outcomes. So we anticipate, again, the scale we'll be able to share actually very soon. We already have the survey started from experts opinion from over 100 questions. Now it's dropped to about 40 questions. And after we are able to implement the survey with multiple companies, we'll be able to apply statistics for item response series. We'll be able to shorten the scale, choose the most important survey. And we anticipate maybe about 10 items. At the end of the project, we can share a scale about 10 items to measure the respectful workplace cultural climate. And we have evidence to show these 10 questions, your score really predict the important outcomes of the respectful workplace. Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would like to just share in terms of the practical application of the tool. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the regional workforce equity agreement that has been put into place over time among public owners in the Portland metro region. The public owners who put out RFPs for significant construction construction projects. And they are interested in integrating Emily's climate scale into the RFP process because they have a stated zero tolerance policy for discrimination and harassment on job sites, but they don't have a way to measure this on job sites, nor do they have a way to determine if a company is getting better or worse. And so we're now meeting with all of these public owners and talking to them about how to integrate the scale into their large scale public works programs. And we're pretty excited because Portland Community College, which has a new $85 million Rock Creek 2 project that's going out for bid, has adopted, they're the early adopter. They've adopted the climate scale and it will be integrated into their RFP process. So this is an example of research into practice, which we're excited about. We think that this can make a big difference in the construction industry over time.
We like to extend it to other industries.
Yes.
In the future.
So I hope that gives you a sense of what we mean by research to practice and how we're moving our research into actionable, accessible education, training, tools, because research is important, but if it isn't actionable, if you can't make things better because of the research, then you're just really, it's a purely academic exercise, and we are committed to change and improvement in working conditions.
Really meaningful to us doing research. We can really see something that's some impact in the real world. And I really appreciate there's a lot of experts, subject matter experts from constructions, and they all contribute their times and support us, and for us to know what is important, what can we do to help. That's really meaningful to us. We appreciate that.
Great. Awesome. Any questions from folks?
I really would like the slides, and I asked Terry about it, but I have my card if you don't mind.
Yeah, we can send you the whole deck, no problem.
I would have taken more notes, but.
Yeah, why not just get the deck, exactly, and then.
You might not have the technical issues that the state has, or that I have.
Yeah, the video should be embedded in the deck,
And
so
we
if you
will
want to give me your
post
card.
that on the website. We'll be able to post it on the MLAC website, the PowerPoint. That won't be an issue.
Okay.
We get all the skill we develop, we publish in scientific journal and professional safety. That's a journal again for ASSP. So all the skill we develop, they are funded by either federal or state. So we love to share the skills.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is already, it will be published.
Public
for anybody.
It's a public good.
Yeah.
It's a public good. So thank you so much. We appreciate your time and
Thank you.
willingness to hear what we're up to. Here, I'll get your card.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for that.
Well, it's one deck. We have it. I have it. I'll just.
And we'll go ahead and try and get a copy of that posted on the MLAC website as well.
Yes.
As part of the meeting materials for today.
Yes, it will be posted. Yes.
Perfect. So next up I see on the agenda is the work plan update.
Yes, and I just sent that out to everybody. I just made the changes from the last meeting, so that is just for your information. If you have any questions, it's there for you to review. I do have one more thing that I remembered when I was sitting next to Patrick. Patrick had asked that we give everybody a legislative calendar, so you have that in your folder, but I can also email it to you electronically. It is the legislative calendar that we get that is emailed to us from the legislature. It has the legislative interim days, it has the legislative session for next year, and everything is color coded. So Patrick thought it might be a good idea for everybody to have an idea the dates moving forward. So.
Maybe just one question related to that. So I see on here and on the calendar in red, LC request, November 9th. Does that mean the meeting that we have in November will be a busy one because we'll have a lot of legislative? No.
That's when it's, Teresa, help me if I'm wrong. That's when it's due over to Legislative Council, correct?
Yes, hi, for the record, Teresa Van Winkle, Legislative Director at DCBS. Yes, the November 9th deadline is when materials have to go to Legislative Council. So it's a deadline really between committees and legislators on that.
It's also my birthday.
That's more important. I mean, priorities, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get legislative concepts for your birthday.
No, I'm taking the day off.
Actually, MLAC was on my birthday in August, so
Yeah.
now it can be told. And I can, if there's any other questions, since I'm here, I can do my best to answer about how that works.
You know, so we did this, the guidelines, and we were asking for information early, and the people on the committee are, you know, I'm one of the longer serving people other than Scott, and I still don't really understand, like, when should I be expecting things? And what is early, what is on time? You know, what sort of expectations should we have about legislative concepts?
If I could predict all of this 100%, I wouldn't be here. I'd be a consultant. So you all charge me, all of you, my voice would charge me to, you know, to have my crystal ball and such. So
I feel like the answer likely is it depends.
It depends.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, going back to the initial conversation in regards to the video and having information coming back. So it has been tradition that if interested parties have ideas and they're not like in a legislative concept or in a bill, like, you know, something that's gone through the, you know, the process at the Capitol through their drafters, MLAC has encouraged individual stakeholders to come forth and just kind of talk about the concept in advance. So that way we know that, so that the committee knows that this is forthcoming, or if it's been withdrawn, we'll know to withdraw. But we just know kind of like the lay of the land for work plan, and also for your workload during session as well. Because it is a dance between the committee and our committee and the committees at the legislature that are looking at workers' compensation legislation. So there's that. And the calendar does have the deadlines, but what you don't see, and you'll see that, I don't believe that the interim calendar currently has the deadlines during the 2024 session of when committees have to, you know, complete their consideration of bills as well, because that's another very important deadline for you to consider too in deliberation, which again is another reason we try to do our best, and, you know, between Terry and myself, to get information to all of you and have presenters available to present for you all to ask questions, and if there's necessity for amendments to get to, or can be a recommendation, then yeah, just comments out.
Great. Any other questions?
That's just a slight thing on the, not on the, sorry, Terry, just on the work plan. At the very bottom, it's very minor, but I think we could cross out overview of boards, functions, and small entities on that page.
So I can't
Sorry,
hear you.
Sarah.
Sorry, the number 5 on educational sessions on topics as needed. I believe we can cross that out as it's now on a work plan. Fine. No, no one got me. The very bottom item.
Second page, last item.
I think it can be crossed.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Happy to do that.
As it's now available on Workday. Minor, but
oh,
I like to complete things.
Okay.
No? Wait.
No, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, got it. I'll fix it.
she crossed her line through it. That's really
Yeah.
Watch me.
Those of us who have braved the horrors of Workday can at least cross that off. the list, right?
Great.
So next I see upcoming meetings, November 2nd and December 7th, both hybrid. I figure that's more notice to all than anything else.
So I think I've asked for not to be present in November.
So I'm sorry, could you?
I think I asked not to be present in November. I will not. I have come.
This is Marcy. I'll be in Hawaii to celebrate my 50th birthday. I will not be getting on.
Well, congratulations, Marcy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. So I think aside from that, I kind of, I guess, good of the order. I know a lot of excellent discussion that we had about mental health, especially in the workplace. And I know that in the construction industry, especially, mental health is a very serious issue. Huge rates of suicide and depression and other things in construction. Just wanted to kind of let folks know, you know, if you have issues, if you're struggling with something, please do reach out, talk to somebody. You will find someone there who cares about you, who wants to help in some way that they can. And then also a kind of call to everyone as well, especially leading into the holidays. We always try and bring this issue up because that can be a very hard time for a lot of folks, of, you know, trying to make space, to do your part, to educate yourself on what you can do, how to have these conversations, how to listen, how to be present for the folks that need your help. Especially in the workplace. You know, I know in construction and as an attorney as well, there's plenty of issues that I bump into on a day-to-day basis, and just want to kind of extend that out to everyone as well, to make space for that and do what we can to help those that need it, because there's more than we would think from first impression. So, but aside from that, any other kind of good of the order stuff? Or it was nice seeing everybody today and breaking bread or muffin or whatever we had. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.